Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life could be a little bit miserable and a little bit dark, so this time we're both here, unlike last week where you had a bit of peace, to bring you a little bit of light and I'm sure plenty of joy. Twice as much joy as last week because there's two of us. Once again, I'm Bradley, or I'm back again as Bradley, but the always consistent, ever-present Stu is here as usual. How you doing, Stu?
Yeah, not bad. Have to learn how to be part of a unit, be part of a team again now. Yeah.
Your ears must have been like, what's going on? This is all fine.
I had no idea what was going on. And neither did the audience, to be fair to them.
No, it was a coherent podcast that, wasn't just full of blabbering from one person somehow. There's probably less single person blabbering with just you doing it than when we both do it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was just blabbering, but in a different voice. That's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe. It was weird last week. I had so much going on, and it just all caught up with me. I just couldn't find time to sit down on the days we could record because we're not professionals, Stu. We're not professionals.
Really?
No.
No, we're really not.
No. Do you know what else isn't professional?
What's that?
A AAA game studio.
It's a true story. Yep.
Yeah, they're very like. I mean, yeah. That's a great way to start a podcast, isn't it?
On a downer. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, there are some great AAA games out there. Well, whatever. There's some great big games out there nowadays because some studios are really good. Larian are good, and From seem pretty decent, and they seem to just do their stuff. It takes as long as it takes, so good on those studios. But I've been playing a lot of games, Stu, and I've kind of couldn't get many of them in last week because I wasn't here.
That's right.
As we've already clarified, I wasn't here. But I've got a lot to talk about. You've got a couple of talks about, so I'm going to hand to you to ask the age-old question.
So, Brad, what have you been playing?
Right, first of all, I've been on a nice little trip to France on my bike. Oh, yes. And I've been racing for a Team Sky. I don't know. One of the teams in Tour de France. I've been playing Tour de France 23. That is a really bad segue and link into the game. I've been playing Tour de France 23. 2023, rather. And it's one of those series that I like, and I have no idea why. I don't like cycling. I just don't like it as a thing. Get to A to B. It's like, but when you got to go up an hill, you get sweaty and horrible. And I know a car's bad for the environment, but you don't get sweaty and horrible going up an hill. And I don't like cycling. And I'm not gonna lie. Apologies if you are a cyclist. Quite a lot of cyclists are arseholes. And Jeremy Vine's a cyclist. I just want to point that out. Jeremy Vine is a cyclist. If you're a cyclist, you're pretty much Jeremy Vine to me. Okay?
That tracks.
But but Tour de France, I've always been like, what's Tour de France? And the cyclist, that's going on now again. And I went to see it when it went through Chelmsford a few years back because it's one of those events that, you've got to go and do if it's local to you. So we went and done it, got a couple of key wins that were thrown out and stuff like that for Lucas. That's the knowledge of the Tour de France for me, essentially. But I like the games, and I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing in the games. But essentially what it is, it's like the best way I could describe the Tour de France games are they're like Football Manager, but told from a more like your actual part of the team. You're not actually just a single cyclist and you're racing the race. You manage the team of cyclists and you can take over certain cyclists, give them instructions, tell them that as a group they need to go faster, or this one needs to get to here so they can do a hill climb, or this one could now got to do this sprint bit of the race and stuff like that. You have to manage their pace, their nutrition, etc., their team orders. And you do it in real time across the entire Tour de France. You can speed it up and do things like that. And I dare say if you really, really like cycling and the Tour de France, it's like everything you probably know about the sport and love about the sport or what have you. I still don't know what I'm doing in it, but I just find it's one of those games I put on and find it really relaxing for some reason. And yeah, I've just been playing this one on because I've not actually played one since like Tour de France 17 on the Xbox One, possibly. But yeah, I played it on the Steam Deck. And do you know what? It's alright. I still don't like cycling. And I don't want to get into cycling, but yeah, it's fine. It's alright. It's fine. I like it. It's bizarre. Yeah, I just don't know what else to say about it. It's a really good management game, and I don't know why I picked it up to review, because I'm probably not the best person to review it, to go, oh, they've added these new things that make it really, really good, and oh, it's got all these new stages, and this looks good. I don't know. He said it's got things like new medium mountain and agility rating added as one of their features. I don't know what that means. It's got a challenges mode, which I suppose is really good. So like you could sort of like pick up at any point in a race and do that. So like a scenario mode, which I really like. That's actually a really good idea for someone like me, that you could just kind of jump in. And you know, you get like they've added like bibs for certain teams and stuff like that. So I'm sure that's good. It's like I'd probably understand it in football terms, like for Football Manager or something, or an ice hockey manager. I don't know what I'm doing with this, but bikes ride around France and it looks pretty in the countryside, and yeah, it's fine. And to give an idea, it gets like a very positive review, overall reviews on Steam. So I dare say the people who do actually know what they're talking about like it too. But yeah, it's Tour de France.
Interesting.
Don't ask me any questions about it, Stu.
I'm not gonna, but I'm gonna. I'll drop some knowledge. It's not really knowledge. It's dropping some googling. So just had a quick look on Metacritic for its scores, and it's only got 4 reviews, and 2 of them are kind of like mediocre, and 2 of them are kind of yay, it's good, but there's only 4. So it's kind of like, yeah, there's only 4 reviews. So there's not a lot to go off of. And I suppose positive on Steam, with it only having been released quite recently, was it?
8th of June, I'm a bit behind.
Right. So, yeah, you would expect that it was picked up by people who like the game anyway. And there's maybe a bit of, bias towards the game. But it doesn't, no matter where you get your info from, it doesn't sound like it's, something that'll set the world on fire, even if it is like the greatest example of a Tour de France game. But
yeah, no, I know. And I said I don't know why I like the series. I'm not going to be picking it up every year. It's just every few years. Do you know, like Jeepers Creepers?
Yes.
The film, and then like every few years it comes and feeds. I'm like that with the Tour de France game. Every few years I come back and I've got to have a bit of a feed of French cyclists.
Yep. I understand that. You got to feed on.
They put that on the box.
Cyclists.
Tour de France 2023. It's like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah. I think that should be on the box, definitely. Yeah. Do they have things like boxes anymore? I suppose they do for some.
I don't know. Well, on their accolades trailers,
yes.
then.
Yeah.
If there's only 4 others, then there you go. There's your quote. Tour de France 2023. It's a bit like Jeepers Creepers.
There we go. Done.
Oh dear, covered. Yeah. So before I let you get to one of yours. Another one I played that I'm very behind on, there's a theme to these games coming up, is a game called Backpack Hero, which is an indie game I picked up 3 months ago, I think. I don't know why I've got very high pitch there. Maybe because it stars like you're a mouse, and I'm being very mouse-like. But anyway,
that might be it.
Yeah, possibly. We'll just do an entire podcast like this. No, let's not. It's basically it's a roguelike, but it's an inventory management roguelike with deck building elements, and basically you play this mouse who has a backpack, hence the name Backpack Hero, and in that backpack you can put all your various weapons, power-ups, armour, potions, etc, etc. And then you come up against enemies as you're walking on, and you use your various inventory items to battle those enemies. And then when you beat an enemy, they have their drops, and you get other inventory items that you can put in your backpack, and you can upgrade your backpack as you go. So you start off with a really small backpack, and you can only keep a certain amount of items in there, but you progress and you can upgrade your backpack to have, instead of like 4 or 5 slots, you can have like 12 slots or something. And if you've played your Resident Evils and things like that, it's done in that way where, you know, you might have a bow that's like 3 slots vertically. You might have armour that's like 4 slots, but in a square, that kind of thing. And you've got to fit it all in that Resident Evil style way. And I really love that kind of like inventory management. I still think it's one of the best and most unique ways of managing your inventory if you're going to have that as a system. And this has that, and like how you put things in has an effect. So you put like a certain weapon next to a certain other weapon, and you get like damage buffs and bonuses based on them being next to each other in your inventory. And same with like shields and armor and bits of fruit, which allow you to gain HP and get other little bonuses. And yeah, you move along, you die, you improve, you move along, you die. It's a roguelike in every shape, you know, every way possible. And it's just, yeah, it's really, really enjoyable. It's one of those, still in early access, by the way. But it's one of those I kind of, every now and again, maybe once every couple of weeks, pick up, have a couple of runs, pop it back, and then leave it for a few more weeks and go back in. It's one of those nice to pick up and play once in a while games. Yeah, really, really good example of taking a genre that's not tired now, but, you know, you're seeing a lot of the same and doing something a bit different with it. And it just makes it stand out in all the right ways. Yeah, really, really cool little game.
Excellent. Yeah. It sounds pretty good, actually. Yeah. I'm quite interested in that. I might check it out, to be honest.
Oh, I would. I say I've got enjoyment from it. I say because it's early access, I try not to play. I don't want to go like, oh, I've completed it, or I've got to the point where I'm done with it, because when it comes out of early access, I want to play it in how it's meant to be played. But yeah, it's a great one. You know, when a game is done in such a way that you can pick it up every now and again, that shows it's got a good gameplay style to it. You know, it's not overly difficult. You don't have to relearn it every single time you pick it up, which, you know, you play something like Darkest Dungeon, which is brilliant, but you've almost got to relearn that game and all the mechanics that are part of it every time you pick it up.
Right.
If you leave it for a couple of weeks, if you know what Resident Evil is, you know that side of it. If you know what any kind of like battler is, you know, turn-based strategy type, turn-based tactics type thing, you got that in spades. You know that, and it's just mixing them all together. And yeah, it's just a really nice, cute, fun, interesting game. Yeah, good. I like it.
Nice. It's on the list.
Yeah. Talking of on the list, what have you got?
What have I got? You have to speak to my doctor about that. Well, in terms of the games, I've actually really just been playing roguelikes, which is bizarre.
What?
I know, yeah. It just happened. It just happened.
I leave you for a week. What's happened?
I know. I'm in so much trouble now, aren't I? It's bizarre. But I'm not here to talk about them. Well, at least not until the next game, because I'm gonna talk about a game that I played weeks ago and have been embargoed up until this time.
Makes you feel special, don't it, when you've been embargoed?
Oh God, yeah, it makes me feel like one of the special people, one of the heroes, one of the backpack heroes. And yeah, so I have not been playing, but a few weeks ago I've been playing Toaplan Arcade Shoot 'em Up Collection Volume 2, which is a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, it's 4 shooters, classic in inverted commas shooters, from the golden era of shoot 'em ups, if you want to call it that. I don't know if people call it that. I'm just making these things up. But yeah, it's got 4 games in it: Fire Shark, Flying Shark, Hellfire, which a lot of people have probably heard of, and Slap Fight. And 3 of them are vertical and 1 of them's horizontal. And yeah, I mean, if you know anything about shooters, you know them. If you don't know anything about shooters, you won't be interested in them. They are for the fans. So what they are they're conversions by a third-party company, developer called Bitwave, and they're kind of, one of these hero companies who steps up and, does quality of life improvements and on really, really old retro games and then publishes them. And yeah, so what they've done is, and the games themselves, they're fine, they vary in quality. I'd say Hellfire is the best. Slapfight's the very worst. I didn't even like that back in the day. I think it's just rubbish. But not really worth talking about the gameplay, because if you're interested, it'll be because you've played them before and you've played them on emulator. Yeah. And you can just play them on emulator if you want. But it adds a load of that stuff that you'd expect and want from paying for a release like this. So it's got CRT filters, it's got zoom options, it's got cabinet artwork you can have, kind of all that stuff you'd expect. It's got rotation modes, the Tate mode, so you can put your console in the right, or your screen in the right kind of orientation for it. It's got replay, it's got slowdown, it's got fast forward, it's got save states. It's basically got everything that you could possibly want. It kind of makes the game, 3 or 4 times more accessible than it would be. It adds difficulty modes, so you can make it super easy or super hard, but without making it too unbalanced. So yeah, it's like, okay, so it's kind of an old-fashioned thing you're being given, very, very old-fashioned, but the packaging is absolutely beautiful. And if you're in the market for this kind of thing, it's a really good choice. Yeah. So if you want them, if it floats your boat, then it's a good package to go for.
Yeah, and it looks like it's almost a case of buy 3 and get one of them for free anyway, the way the package seems to work, because you can buy them all individually. So I think that's I like these sort of collections that do that you can get 3 of them, but for slightly less than the cost of 3, you can add another one in there. So you said that even though Slapfight, I think you said, isn't that good, or not to you, it wasn't that good, at least, it's not costing you anything, and to actually get the other 3, you might as well get that one and save yourself a quid or 2 as well. So, and I like this in terms of game preservation as well, because it's all great when I think we go, we've got to remember to preserve the Marios or whatever in this world. But these niche titles, whether you like them or not, I mean the royal you, not you, Stu. I mean, it should all depend. Actually, you should curate the world, Stu, in all fairness. It should
too busy.
Be based on what you like.
I'm just too busy.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a good game or the best game to be preserved. I think we need to preserve the poor games as well. I'm not on about asset flip games, but if a game's been made, it's just not very good, it's still got to be preserved because someone out there likes it. And it needs to be there. And the fact it's there, I think, is really good, and it looks like a really cool bundle. I've got to admit that. Yeah,
it is, and I think it's got that thing where there are so many quality of life improvements that you can almost kind of turn them into the games you think they should be, as you would if you were an arcade operator and you change the dip switches. You change the difficulty, change the number of credits, that sort of a thing. It's very important because they are inaccessibly difficult games, because they were just designed to take all your money off you as quickly as they could. And the fact that they do that, but they're not, I mean, they're fine, they're okay in terms of being games, but they're not, There's so many that are better than them. I mean, for example, Fireshark and Flying Shark are superficially at least similar to Capcom's 1942, which is an excellent game, but they are, which is what everyone's played. Yes, indeed, but they are far inferior to that series. So that's like your standard. They're not as good as that, and those games have been superseded. But if you start applying some of the things, like you can rewind off one of the annoying, irritating deaths when you were doing really well that was completely unfair. You shave that edge off of it, and you drop the difficulty down a little bit, but keep it so that you can still get a bit of a buzz out of it. You can really shape it and make it a lot better. So, I mean, all I can do really is highly applaud the Bitwave people for making it a really good reissue type thing.
And I think the one thing I want to add to this, just one little thing with it, is as great as MAME is, the emulation and stuff like that, you've got to know what you're doing to a degree to set it up. So, I mean, I could play all these for quote-unquote free, because I've got them via MAME or something like that. I dare say I've got them via MAME. I've got a complete ROM set. I mean, I legally bought them all. And I've got all the arcade machines in my flat. That's what I mean. But yeah, you've got to know what you're doing, and you can add all the flair to it, such as like you can like the thing I love about the MAME setups and everything is you can turn your normal like HD screen into an arcade cabinet that looks like a lifelike arcade cabinet with like the screen's almost built into the thing, and it's got all the effects and everything, and that's really cool. But you've got to know what you're doing, and most people, I would argue, can't just load up this game via MAME because they don't know what they're doing. I didn't for a long time, and I still have to look at guides to do it. So the fact you could just buy it on Steam, a game like this, is brilliant, and more of this to come. I want to see everything I can get on MAME. Let me have that option for those who really want to go in depth with it. But I'm happy to pay 3, 4, 5, 6 quid for a game that I loved as a kid, that I could just access on my Steam Deck on Steam, on the TV, the computer, whatever it is that I want to play it, just have access to it. And if it's all done that I can just like pop it on, that's great. Options for everyone is really, really good.
It is, yeah. No, I completely agree. And there's the preservation side, and there's also, if you don't reissue these games and seeing that that kind of capitalist engine going and people paying the money for them, then you don't see sequels. And I mean, who's to say there's not going to be like a Fire Shark Returns in about a year's time, because they found that there's people have been buying this up. So yeah, if it's good. It's good in every way, really. So yeah.
Or a 1942 2024.
Indeed.
That'd be confusing.
It would be very confusing. Yeah.
Oh my God, you could do Jesus Christ. We're going to come up to a stage show in not too long where you could do the 100-year anniversary of 1942. Obviously, I know the game wasn't made in 1942, but you could easily remarket that, repackage it all, and do a 100-year anniversary video game.
You could. That's a scary thought. I don't like it.
It is. And Only Fools and Horses is closer to the World War II than it is now.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So yeah, that's life for you. Just a bit of your own mortality, but yeah, I like it. I might dig out 1942 later. I know that's not the idea of a review of a game that's just come out on Steam, but yeah, I might get the arcade stick out and load up some 1942. Good. It's a great game. So moving on from retro gubbins, who cares about old games? Hey, no one cares about those. When I can play, and I can tell you about a game that's set in deep space, where you're kind of alone on this, let's say, what's the word for mechanical? Not mechanical. Industrial style spaceship. You're all alone on that spaceship, and the space you're in's a little bit dead, and you've got all like a bit of horror going on around you. Sounds a bit like a game, like not Fort Solis, not Dead Space, obviously. I'll be playing Fort Solis.
Very good.
Which is interesting, is how I'm going to put it. It's, I don't know, it's plodding. So essentially, you play a lone character that has to go and investigate something that's going on in a space base, and it's very industrial looking. Like, you can tell the influence of like a Dead Space or an Aliens or something like that. They've gone for that retro modern style thing that you had. And you're going on, essentially it's a bit of a walking, like Dear Esther style walking simulator type thing, with a bit more interaction, and a story that's going on, and it's got what's his name, who's in all the games, I forget his name now. Troy Baker is in it. I don't care, but that always put me off, Troy Baker being in it.
Yeah.
But yes, oh God, it's Troy Baker. He's a bit of a dick at times, allegedly. Don't sue me. I haven't got any money. But yeah, it's, you kind of go through and stuff happens around you, and eventually, because it tries to do suspense by having absolutely bugger all happen for what feels like an age. And by the time stuff does happen, I'm not like at the height of suspense. I'm bored. I've got to a point where I'm walking around this derelict space station-y type area, and I'm going, I might go and look for trouble, because trouble's not looking for me yet, and I want the stuff to happen. Now, caveat that, we know me, Stu, I don't do horror, because I don't get scared. So other people might get scared, but I thought I could do atmosphere and suspense. That does get me. It doesn't scare me, but it draws me in. And this just didn't do it for me. It's dark in areas, really, really dark, and it feels like it's using the darkness to try and build suspense. Doesn't work. It's just dark. And it does things where it goes, oh, something might happen now, and then you go, oh, will it? And then no, it doesn't. And then it tries to, at some point, it goes, oh, we're building. Something's happened now. And you're like, oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Troy Baker, stop talking. Please stop talking, Troy. I can't imagine. You just don't get it, Stu. Just how annoying it is to have someone just going on and on and on and on with no point to make whatsoever. Like, you just do not understand what that's like, Stu. Okay.
Right? I've had a very lucky existence. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is very cinematic, and it looks lovely in places, and I say plenty of praise for it, but it's just plodding. And what gets me as well, this is one thing that really gets me. I played, I've told you about this, one of my favourite games. It's a FMV game called Contradiction, Spot the Liar. And what's brilliant about that is the people in that act. They are acting, proper hamming it up acting, and they play into it, and you enjoy it because they're playing into it. The characters here, in what is meant to be like a very grounded, serious type thing, they're acting, and you can tell they're acting, and it's just kind of, maybe bring it down a notch. It's not understated enough, and you try and go, you've taken your cues from like Quentin Tarantino style of, we're going to talk about stuff that doesn't actually have anything to do with the plot to try and make it feel more natural, and it just doesn't work. There's too much. The reason they have to do that is there's just too much nothingness going on, so they need to have that communication to make it feel like you're doing something. And I just didn't. It's meant to be isolated, which is great. Isolation's a brilliant thing. But when there's so much chatter going on, and it's all over hammy, in my opinion, that isolation's gone. I don't feel isolated. And it's very well put together, don't get me wrong. It's clearly been made with a lot of love, and they've gone through it. When it's ready, and there's no bugs or anything like that, which I think's great to see. But it's just, it just doesn't work. If you want to play a game like this, honestly, go play Alien Isolation, go play Dead Space, go play Dear Esther or What Remains of Edith Finch, anything like that. I just found it plodding and dull. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just didn't hit it for me, but I think I'm in a minority with it.
Yeah, how weird. Yeah, strange that.
Yeah,
I might watch some Twitch stuff and just see what I think of it. But it's a funny one. If it doesn't grab you, if it doesn't make you scared, it's absolutely pointless. It's like they always say about films, is that the two types of films that can completely fall on their arse are if they just lose one little thing, are horror films and comedy, because if you're not afraid, it's completely pointless, and if you don't laugh at comedy, it's completely pointless. You know what I mean? It's like
the Mark Kermode rule. You've got to laugh at least 3 times for it to be considered a funny film.
Yeah, exactly.
This tries to do that thing where they try and add humour as well, not in that over the top. Like when you're watching, like you could be watching. Again, I don't know why I'm going for a second Only Fools and Horses reference here. But and spoilers, I suppose, if anyone didn't watch Only Fools and Horses in the 80s.
I think we've passed the spoiler boundary.
Yeah.
We're all
but
right.
Do you know when like they're in the lift and Rodney's talking about having lost his baby and stuff like that, like they've had the miscarriage, and it gets like they've had all the comedy before it, and they have this really serious moment and stuff like that, and then it goes back to the comedy. But that serious moment hits perfectly because it's just so against the emotion, like the comedy that usually goes. It just hits you. Or you might be watching what's like a really serious like drama, but they have their moments of comedy in there because naturally funny things happen in life, and they get that balance just right. None of that's there in this. It's just, it feels like when they go for something comedic in there, like a comedic bit of dialogue, it's like, right, now's time for the comedy to show that we got a bit of like, no, it feels forced, and everything about it feels forced. They don't let it breathe. So yeah, I think if they want a box art quote, "Faults on this in space, nothing breathes." I don't know.
Quite like that. Yeah, okay, I'll stay clear of that one. Fair play.
So yeah, sorry, Troy.
Yeah, Troy. Sorry, man.
So I've got one more left, so I'm gonna pass to you again, and let you speak.
Oh, thank you. That was very generous. No, that's cool. I've been playing one that came out today, in fact, as we speak, the 1st of September, called End of Nights, and managed to fit it in because it dirt cheap, so I got it straight away, like £2, and it's like a couple of 100 meg, so easy to download. So it's like, oh yeah, I'll boot that up really fast. And so I've played about 20 minutes of it, but it's worth talking about because it's really good. And it's a kind of top-down roguelike. So it's like, what the hell are you doing playing this? But it's kind of like an old-fashioned hack and slash game with roguelike kind of bits bolted on, but never without losing sight of the hack and slash. And what it is, there's a little bit of tower defense. So you kind of, you're standing there and these waves of enemies, these hordes are coming at you, like skeletons and the undead, and you're this righteous knight fighting them off with his sword and a bow and arrow and some magic. Which is kind of reminiscent in the way that it looks of stuff like Vampire Survivors, but it's much more kind of, you've got like 2 weapons basically, well 3 with the magic, so it's not kind of like auto weapon. It's very much fighting kind of hack and slash game, and you've got to survive these waves, and if they get past you, if like some of the enemies get past you, they break down like the defenses of your castle, and the further they get, obviously the quicker you're gonna die because they're gonna take it out. The longer you survive and meet little challenges, the more skills you pick up, and you have a magic bar obviously and all the standard stuff, and you pick up different weapons in the environment and things like that, and it's great. It's really good so far. It's really kinetic. The graphics are retro throwback but look really nice, works well on the deck. There's a little bit of an issue with the screen going off to the left, cutting off a few pixels, so it's like shifted left a little bit, and there's no video options, so I'll have to look at forcing that in the settings. But anyway, that's by the by.
£2 you can kind of, yeah.
And they've not said that it's compatible, so it's not on them. So yeah, it's a really nice little thing, a little roguelike-y arcade experience so far. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, looking at it now, it very much looks like a Vampire Survivors alike. A VS game. What are they being called? They called VS games?
No idea. No idea.
But anyway, it's definitely got that look. But it's the fact that it feels that you're saying it's more hands-on than a game like that actually piques my interest somewhat.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many games I can play where I wander around letting the game play itself, and I've just got to avoid stuff. And don't get me wrong, they're fun. I love them, but yeah, when something tries to do something a bit different, then I'm all for that. And it looks interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's got a gauntlet vibe to it a little bit, but the inverse. So instead of you running around a maze and encountering enemies, you're basically not static, but you're in roughly one place while enemies come at you. So it's it's got a mid-80s vibe to it, very deliberately. But there's plenty of action, it's plenty of engagement. So yeah, interesting one. Very, very interesting.
It's not even a cup of coffee game. It's that horrible coffee you get from like the clubber when you go to watch your daughter or son play football or something, and it costs £1.
Yeah.
It's more towards that.
Or
In fact,
when you go to somewhere that has subsidised, so it's good quality, but you don't pay as much. Like subsidised coffee game.
Yeah. I'm going to go for it's 2 shit coffees out of 10, but that's a good thing. No, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to add that to the wish list. I might pick that up at some point. I've got so much I'm still playing at the moment, and I'm knee deep in, but I'm not even going to wait for a sale. It's on sale at the moment, by the way, which is a launch sale. More games should do that. I love it how it's the indies will do that, by the way, quite often, launch sale. So you can get it for £2.11 instead of £2.49. But I don't care. When I've got free time, whatever price it is, when I pick it up, I'll pick that up. I've just added it to the wish list now.
Great. Good stuff.
So, in a similar sort of vein, I've been playing Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I attempted to play Texas Chain Saw Massacre initially, and I had to give up and play it on the computer rather than on the Steam Deck because it just doesn't work on the Steam Deck, despite the beta was working on the Steam Deck. This current version doesn't connect because of some credentials. I'm pretty sure it's something to do with easy anti-cheat. It's always something to do with easy anti-cheat and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, it's an asymmetric survival game where basically you take on the role of either one of the family or a survivor, one of the victims, from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the original 1974 film, which was brilliant at the time, and was very, very famous for everyone thinking it was a really, 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 really gruesome film with lots of blood and gore, when in actual fact, what do we know about the film, Stu?
There's very little gore, it's mostly psychological.
Indeed. God, I wish Solis was psychological at times rather than actually trying to explain. Anyway, but yeah, basically, if you played like Dead by Daylight and things like that, it's of that ilk. So you're a survivor, you've got to survive. If you are in the family, you've got to kill. And essentially, that's what it is, but set in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre world. And I really like it. I played a bit of Dead by Daylight as well to sort of like compare and contrast. And Dead by Daylight is brilliant, but it's grown to something so big that I don't know where I am with it. You know, do I need to get the Freddy Krueger pack or the thingy face ones, or was it Ghost Face Scream version of it, or the Stranger Things part of it, or what? There's so much to it. I'm like, whereas this is Texas Chain Saw Massacre, man, and I know Texas Chain Saw Massacre. It was one of the proper original. Oh my god, I got hold of a copy of this, and I'm too young to watch it. I can't wait. Yeah. It's one of those. Probably explains why I don't really get scared by horror films now. I think I was like 5 or 6 maybe when I watched Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Anyway, and yeah, because it's that, it works. And you know, if you remember, I say remember, weren't that long ago, like Resident Evil 7 borrowed heavily from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. So, you know, I found that was a really interesting game in the Resi series. But this is like, it's actual Texas Chain Saw Massacre. It is online only. I'm really, really, really enjoying it when I get a chance to play it. The gutting thing is that just it isn't on Steam Deck properly yet. It's got full controller support, so I've got that keyboard and mouse, but it's just not working on Steam Deck, and that is gutting, and I hope they get that sorted soon, because everything about it is just so enjoyable. It's cross-play as well. That needs added to it, so there's quite a large community with it. Really good load times as well. Now, I played Dead by Daylight, and that was meandering to get into a game. It felt really slow to get into a game. And this is just very like snappy, let's get you in. And yeah, it's got loads of little bits about it that I like. So even as a killer, you do get some benefits, but it's not like making you completely supernatural. So you still got to really think about what you do. So you're not getting like loads of outlines of people and stuff like that, and basically telling you where everyone is. But yeah, I just really enjoy it, and it's graphically, it's got it's almost grimy. And I don't think it's grimy by choice. I don't think they've gone for, we're going to go for this like old grimy look. But it's got almost like a 360 PS3 era quality to it in terms of the graphics. But because it's a game set on a film that was based in 1974, and when you watch the original film, that's grimy looking. It works. Because it looks old, it looks grimy because of it, and muddy in places. It has that nostalgic feel to it, and it works. Whereas I think it wouldn't work if they tried to give this nice HD aesthetic to it. And I think that's why one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to playing it on the Steam Deck, because it's a lower resolution screen. So again, it should add to that muddiness in a good way. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. Big fan of Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the original. Like, all the sequels are shite. Not gonna pussyfoot around that. They are all shite. But the original Texas Chain Saw Massacre is beautiful. It's brilliant. It's macabre, and this takes that in every way, shape, or form, and runs with it, and just makes for an excellent experience if you're into your old slasher films and things like that.
Yeah, it's a funny one, in a good way. But it's weird that it's done by Sumo Digital.
Yeah.
That's really
That's
bizarre.
probably why it plays well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, such a good studio. And it's also kind of bizarre that it's kind of, eating the lunch of Dead by Daylight, like you say, because that's massive, that game. Like, it seems really, really massive. And this seems to do some clever stuff with that async kind of survival stuff. My main issue before it came out was, you got Dead by Daylight. There was another one. I think Friday the 13th came out around the same time as Dead by Daylight. Yeah. And it was like, there's definitely no room for two of these. And it was like, well, why are we now trying to bring another one out? And actually, no, it's different in such a good way, a really, really good and interesting way. What I do like as well, it does say on some of the I think it says like based on a true story still, and I love that. Nice.
Based on true events, I think it says. But what this does as well, so what I did point out, even though it's asynchronous, instead of being 1v4, which a lot of these are, it's 3v4.
Yeah.
So even if you're on your own, you're not on your own, because as a villain or as one of the family, you've still got other people with you. And I think that adds something different to it. That's what separates it from Dead by Daylight and other games like that. But yeah, I prefer this. What I've played of Dead by Daylight, what I've played of this, it's brilliant, and you can obviously play as Leatherface. And who doesn't want to play as Leatherface? Bit too much gore on screen, though, I will say that. That would have been a nice nod to like cut away from the gory moments.
Yeah, no, it would have been clever, but
but I get why they can't, because it wouldn't work in a game setting. But that would have been a nice thing that you could have done. But that's me being probably a bit finicky with it. So yeah, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Nice, yeah. God, there's been so many good games lately, and there's so many coming up as well. But I mean, next week is Starfield, and this month I've been playing Armored Core, which I talked about a bit last week, but we'll go into in more detail when I put more time into it and had certain conversations and stuff. But all sorts of good stuff coming out right now. It's crazy, and I'm still my most anticipated is Super Mario Wonder, but there's a lot of stuff. Like, there's Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which I've not been able to buy because I've just been spending.
I've got that.
Oh, you cheeky monkey!
And I've not played it yet.
Oh no!
Oh, I have. I've played like the first bit that's like, hey, do you remember Jet Set Radio? I'm like, yeah, I remember Jet Set Radio. Well, this bit's Jet Set Radio. I've played that bit, and I've not gone past it yet, so jealous. I've got to get to it. But I've been playing so much other stuff that I haven't had the time.
I'm jealous. I'm very jealous. But yeah, no, you're right. There's so much stuff at the moment. It's madness. It's great.
Indeed. Now, have we got time for a quick Q&A? 1 or 2 questions, or?
Well, let's try one, shall we? Let's give it a go. Yeah. And it's a really dumb one, but a dumb but fun. If you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life, what would that meal be?
Noodles.
Right.
Fried noodles.
Oh, yeah, fried noodles.
Particularly from Steve's the Chippy in Liverpool, in Aigburth.
Oh.
They're divine. They are just really, really good. So, just like, because I can't just say noodles, obviously, you know me, Stu. You know me. It could be a one-word answer, but when you can use one word, I can use 101. We know that, right? But basically, with your noodles, you get your different thicknesses of noodles. And each of those thicknesses also has a number attached to it. So the smaller the number, the smaller the noodles. And the ones you get at Steve's are number 2 fried noodles. So they're like really, really thin noodles, but not rice thin. They're number 1 noodles. These are number 2 noodles.
Yeah.
And so but the way they do them there, they fry. They cook them, they fry them up, bit of soy sauce and whatever in there, and they just are the taste. They're not quite crispy, but they're not soggy and stodgy. They're just they're perfect. Now we get those same noodles, but we buy them here and we cook them here. Not as nice as what you get at Steve's. So I eat them at home quite a lot, and it's my go-to ADHD meal. But if someone says to me you can only eat one meal or one thing for the rest of your life, noodles, fried noodles from Steve's the Chippy in Aigburth in Liverpool.
Nice. Yeah, good stuff. I think.
What about you?
Yeah, I think mine would be. It would be fried chicken, definitely, because that's like my absolute favourite of all things. Running a very close kind of race with bread, which sounds bizarre, but I'm obsessed with bread. It's just like a
freshly baked warm bread.
Ideally.
Yeah.
And especially if we're talking about there's no health concerns. You won't die from eating this for every meal, because otherwise I'd be dead within days. But yeah, no, definitely that piled with butter. I'd have dressed salad, and I'd have Mexican red rice as well, which is fantastic. So that would be my go-to every single meal. I would have that.
Yeah, you're definitely more varied than I am.
Yeah, but I love noodles as well. Especially chow mein.
See, our chow mein noodles, they're at least a number 3, maybe even a number 4 noodle. Yeah. They're a bit too thick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bit too thick. Don't ask me why I've become a noodle expert all of a sudden. I love noodles. Now, that's an ADHD thing. As soon as I have a bad noodle, that's it, I'm done.
Never touch them again.
I won't have bread and butter pudding anymore. So I love bread and butter pudding. Right, I was doing it, and then I got one out of Aldi, and I used to love getting the one out of Aldi because it's cheap. It's like $1.99, but you get a decent amount in it. And I would go bang, 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 love it. I'll have that at least once a week or twice a week or whatever. Brilliant. And then I got one, and obviously it was a bad batch, and it was all curdled inside instead of how it should be. I said I will never eat that again. I'm done completely. Yeah. Never again. Because that's ADHD and food. So as soon as I have bad noodles, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Let's pray you never get a bad noodle, mate.
Indeed. That could be, there you go. Let's pray we never get a bad noodle. That's the title of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. I think, that's all we have time for on those, I think, unfortunately. Because we blabbered on about unimportant stuff like games.
Yes. And that's a deep way to finish it. Yeah. Pray for a good noodle.
Yes. Yeah. Very existential. Indeed. Yeah.
Now, I'm reading between the lines though, Stu, and I get what you're saying now. So I think I know what you're really praying for. It's time for me to shut up now.
If I thought that would work, I'd become a Christian and I would pray for it every day, Bradley. But, yeah. But sadly, as we know, God is dead, so there's no point. Oh, there you go. Offending half at least of the audience. But on that...
God can't be dead because there is no God.
Well, there you go.
Never was.
Exactly. There you go. So, yeah, with fan base reduced significantly, so now we've only got 2 listeners instead of 4. So... hopefully you 4 listeners will check out all of our content on the internet, on the socials. Join us on Discord if you fancy chatting. And until next time, stay safe and stay sane.